What's going on, guys? McDowell here. I've got a quick video for you today. In my Flame Slash build guide, I said that I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to be farming, but I've kind of settled into something now, and so I figured I would share with you what I've been doing. We were able to pretty quickly farm up several hundred FE, which is going to let us buy our first big tasty upgrade for the build, which we might try and do in the video here. But otherwise, I wanted to share what I'm selling to make the FE, and then how I'm approaching the mapping cycle and what I'm doing there. So in terms of what I'm selling to make money, I would say in not necessarily in order of importance. I make a lot from selling rank 5 beacons, and I get those from the Watchers, and I believe the Realm Lord can drop those as well. But eventually I'll have several of these, 3 or 4 of one specific type, and then I'll just sell it as a chunk, and that has turned out to be actually a pretty good source of income. And then I would say next is Ominous Embers. Whenever I get those dropped, that's kind of like the reliable but exciting jackpot drop. Those I sell for 20 to 25 FE a piece, and I've actually dropped I think 4 or 5 in the last day or two. And then I've made a lot from selling random memory fragments. So I just scroll through every couple hours of gameplay, and I'll see if I've got a legendary one, I'll price check it, and I've had some of them sell for as much as 25, 30 FE a piece. But I get a lot of them that sell for 3 to 5, and so that's a nice source of income. At the end of the maps, after I kill the boss, I will pop the league mechanic a bunch of times, as many stacks of it as I have. And I have found that when I get a boss spawn, I will often get that Edict Doom, I think the item is called. And those sell for a fair amount as well, pretty similar to the Ominous Ember. And then after that, I just, again, every couple hours, I'll scroll through my inventory here, and if I've got a stack of 99, I'll price check it and sell it for 1 or 2 FE, whatever the case is. And once or twice I've had a stack that sold for 5 or 10 for 99, and so again, that's a source of additional income. And then as a distant like 6th place, I guess, is the FE that drops off the ground. And so let's jump over here, and I will show you my card deck and how I'm farming. So I like to put a lot of monsters on the map, so we've got Valiant here for extra rares, same name, but this one is normal monsters, and then Dowdy for extra groups of normal monsters and some extra rares. And then of course we've got the Trinity going, Magnanimous, Generous, and Sharp. And then I like to add this one in just to increase the chances that we could get a duplicated Ominous Ember or whatever. I haven't ever had that happen, but here's hoping. And then just some drop rarity here, and drop rate and drop rarity. And then I use Recollection to help with the Beacon Sustain. Partially because I sell all of the Voidlands ones, because I just don't like that zone, and the boss is kind of a drag, so. In terms of cycling through maps here, as you can see, I will often try and put some monsters on the map, and then I'm going to look and see, do I have Magnanimous? If yes, then I do that. And then it is if I have Sharp, and then if I have Generous on the board. And so I'll throw those on there, and then I might try and add in the normal monsters just to beef up the XP on the map, beef up the drops. And then from there, I just kind of do whatever until the cycle's over. Then I repeat and slam out a bunch of the Watchers, and then I will take out the Realm Lord, and then I repeat. It's really just as simple as that, and I found that to be pretty fun, and it's repeatable, and I make consistent income. I almost forgot to mention, I will buy rusted general compasses in bulk. They're fairly cheap, and I will put those on basically every map. And then I will also buy the dated general compass in bulk. They're more expensive, and so I tend to use those if I've got the combo of Generous, Sharp, and Magnanimous going with the cards. I'll start using these ones instead. And then maybe on the 4th or 5th map in a cycle, if I've got the cards going, then I will throw one of these on there, as I said, and then I'll go through and just any other blue compass that I have on hand, I'll throw that in to get it up to 4. And so I'll just throw map on screen here. So I'm going to come in, and I would roll this to where the drop quantity is listed at over 100, and then come in here and throw on one of these. and go. And again, if I don't have the cards going, I might even still just throw on the cheapest general compass. All right, now let's talk about how I go about searching for items. We're gonna open up the trade interface and go to the advanced tab. And in this case, I want a weapon. And so first I'm going to consider what's the upgrade need to do. In this case, all I care about is damage. But if it's another piece of gear, you might also need some defenses on there. The item might need to replace certain things that you can't just ignore when you're searching for mods. And so I would consider that first. And then I would consider my budget. So I know I've got 330, 340 FE on hand. And so for me, that's the budget. But you might have much more FE. But it's good to kind of go in knowing if you have 1,000 and you only want to spend 500, keep that in your mind as you're searching for the item so that you don't get baited into spending more than you wanted to. And then I'm going to come in and select I want to do a sword, and then we're going to click on base gear, and we're going to pick our base item. Then we're going to come back over here, and we're going to add the item level in. I always set it to 85 because my understanding is that that is the minimum level on the gear where you are able to get all the good mods, where everything opens up. And then we're going to come over here and go through the list. So I know I want physical damage and attack speed, critical strike rating, because those are the stats that I'm scaling for my build. It may vary for you. And then I would love some critical strike damage and gear critical strike rating. And then I'm just going to click search, and we're going to see what kind of stuff we have here. So here's one for 120, 28% more damage. We're going to look at the mods. If you go here and click details, then you can get additional information like what tier it is. And so we can see here, this has got a couple tier 2s on it, but it's a pretty good item. More DPS than the weapon I have equipped currently. And, you know, the tooltip number is not that important, but once you know that it's a good item and you know, it has higher DPS and you like the stuff that you see here, then I think this is a good indicator. And I find it very useful to make sure that this number isn't going down. Because again, I don't know how valuable this number is for knowing the magnitude of a given upgrade or downgrade, but I have found that it's just a nice quick reference, but I wouldn't put a huge amount of stock in it. And we're just going to come through 27%, but that one's got higher DPS, and we've got that nice implicit. 34% there. That one's cheaper, but a bigger damage increase. And this one's much more expensive, but less damage. 325, and we can get a lot of damage. I would have expected seeing this big number here to see this number being larger. So let's analyze here. And this is a nice mod, this dual wielding mod. And the big mod here is the 90% elemental damage. It's got to be, because we're doing all fire damage. Added lightning damage per 12 dexterity is not a good mod for us. And so for me, what that tells me is there's probably a similar item that is going to have a better mod for us, that we might even be able to get more damage if we shop around a little bit more, or we just find another similar item that just has a luckier thing for us. Gear attack speed, crit damage, and critical strike rating. So, I mean, this all looks pretty good, but I'd love to see a different mod here. Let's check out the tier of these. 1, 1, 1. So it's a perfect item, except that it has one mod that's not useful for us, and for whatever reason it has fairly low DPS compared to other items that I've seen that give us this big of an upgrade. So now that we see that tier 1 elemental damage, and I believe you can turn this off, yeah. So 90% elemental damage is big. And so what I might do next is come back here and see if I can find that stat. Let's just scroll through here. Elemental damage. And then I'm just going to type in 85. We're going to see what we've got. So there's the biggest damage increase that we've seen so far. It's out of our price range, but we can see it's got that gear physical damage roll, big elemental damage roll, added fizz damage, corrosion. So that's a nice item. But see here, we're getting half of the upgrade, more than half, for way less than half of the price if we were to go with this sword. And this one's got nice DPS. It's still a big upgrade. And then I could spend the other 150 on a new helmet or something. But we're just going to shop around a little bit. Look at that. So that one's huge. So now if I see an item like this, I'm not really thinking at this time like, oh, now I'm just going to save up and buy this one. But what I am doing is saying, okay, well, how is this item set up that makes it so good? So let's turn the details on here. So tier 1, added gear physical. Tier 1 gear physical damage. The big elemental damage roll. Near perfect attack speed. And then the 2 crit mods. So it must just be these 2 mods here, the first 2, that really scale up this big number. And so these rolls matter, and I'm assuming they contribute a lot to the price. So now we know that, and so we might shop around a little bit more. Oh, okay, there's not actually a huge number of these, so here's a nice upgrade. Gear physical damage. But see, it doesn't have... Here's the... Oh, we might actually... This might be the one we were looking at before, because it has that lightning damage per 12 dexterity. But the difference is, if instead of this mod, we come back here, and it has this mod, then you can start to get into this crazy territory. Or at least that's my understanding from what we just saw. And that's basically the process. I'm going to probably go through now, and, you know, I might take off the elemental damage and add something else, or I might leave that on and come through and say, okay, well, what if it didn't have this mod? And then I might come through and just look and shop around and add stuff. What if it had melee skill level on there instead of critical strike damage? And then I might shop around for a bit. And I just do that and see what's available, and then I'll make a purchase. Alright, so I went through and clicked on the little icon on a few of these that adds them to the collection tab so that I could come back and just go over a few of them real quick before I make my choice. So we've got this one that has this erosion damage physical conversion thing on it. And then it's got some other pretty nice mods for 100. So we're getting 43% damage for 100 there. That's really good value. Then there's this one that's the biggest damage upgrade I think I've seen on any weapon of any price. But it has kind of weird mods, and it has a mod that doesn't do anything for us. So that feels weird. But it's one of the few weapons I've seen that is actually an upgrade across the board. It's all green. And then we've got this one, 37%, but it's got, you know, nice DPS on the weapon. And it has this attack and spell block while dual wielding, which would add a little bit of defense for us. But I think I'm going to go with this one. It's got high DPS. The numbers are green across the board. All these mods are good, even if this one is not particularly useful, but I assume I'll be able to resell it, because there's probably lots of builds that would use a sword like this, a physical sword, that would need the elemental resistance penetration. So we're going to move on this. And we're going to come over to history, collect item. And we're at 158. Let's pop over to the dummy real quick. I'm not sure if I'm in single target mode or AoE. There we can see the numbers. Okay, now we'll come in here. take a look at our item. Throw it on there. You can see what our change is. So we're at 2.58. So that's a lot of damage increase. Basically a million. All right, we had a technical issue. So let me do this again and we'll see what the numbers are. So yeah, sizable upgrade, but not as drastic as I had anticipated. So average DPS 21.9, and let's throw back on no, so it's consistent. It's consistent. So yeah, that's a huge upgrade. And that's the process. And so now I'll continue to farm. I might push a little bit further into the end game if the DPS increase allows me to do so. And I'll just keep doing the same cycle until I have enough currency that I think I'm going to be able to get another big upgrade, and I'll just move on down the line. Probably next I'll be looking at getting a better helmet. And I'll just go from there. And if I encounter anything of particular interest, I'll make another farm update video. But otherwise, if any of this was interesting to you or helpful, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. I appreciate you.